Okay, we're back again. We're on page 180. We left off on page 179, but that we had finished the 25th chapter, the universal gateway we had ended point 1 of chapter 25. We're in the perceiver of the world's sound, chapter 25. This is point 2 on 180. And continuing. Concerning the Bodhisattva perceiver of the world's sounds represented by wonderful. This is the tie-in, this is the key reality tie-in to the wonderful law. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says, Nichiren says, so this is Nichiren's understanding of what perceiver of the world's sounds really is as it relates to the latter day. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says the term wonderful law in Sanskrit, as most of you probably know, is sadharma. Sat, or the phonetic change of sat, may be translated as wonderful. The symbol sad is the secret or the mystic syllable that represents Bodhisattva perceiver of the world's sound, wonderful. Hence, a commentary says that perceiver of the world's sounds and the Lotus Sutra are simply different names for the same thing. In other words, the function of perceiver of the world's sounds in the former and the middle day, after the Lotus Sutra had been preached by Shakyamuni at the end of his life, same equivalency of power and inflection of the wonderful law occurs when we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So he's saying, here's a commentary says that perceiver of the world's sound and the Lotus Sutra, which is in the latter day of the law, is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So I could replace it very easily and say, hence the commentary says that perceiver of the world's sounds and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo are simply different names for the same thing. It's the same influence of the original state of existence. Hence the words ken and moku, both of which mean I. Two words for the same thing. Now when we have entered the latter day of the law, the benefits, though, one was for the former and the middle day, now for the latter day and the 10,000 years and beyond of Mappo, now that we have entered the latter day of the law, the benefits Nichiren and his followers enjoy in their chanting of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So even though he qualified there was an equivalency, he says now in the latter day, chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo are as far above those conferred by perceiver of the world's sounds as heaven is above earth or clouds are above mud. Okay, so he qualifies. That was then, this is now. What we're doing is the correct thing for the time that we live in, and don't get confused by old teachings. The Tres teachings are for a different time and for a different karmic relationship to the law. Okay? In general, we may say that the element kan, or perceiver, in the name kanzeon, represents inkan, or perfect perception. Isn't that what we get from chanting the Daimoku de la Gohonzon? The element ze, or za, kanzeon, ze, the word element ze, or world, means miraculous, while the world an refers to sounds. While the world un, or sounds, refers to the capacity of attaining Buddhahood, which we all have that capacity. Kan is another name for the Dharma realm, which we all possess as one of the eternally endowed three bodies, right? The Dharma body. And hence, as already stated, it stands for perfect perception, because that is Buddhahood. The Dharma body is Buddhahood. And because perceiver of the world's sounds is a perceiver of the true aspect of all phenomena, in other words, has a perception of the original state of existence that we know is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, or Kuan, he can see and understand the different realms, such as those of hell, hungry spirits, animals, etc., that make up the miraculous world, and therefore have pity, compassion, and benevolent understanding of the circumstance of the inhabitants of those states of life. On, or sounds, refers to the sounds of the true aspect of all phenomena, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and hence it means that there are no living beings that do not possess the true aspect of Buddhahood, the original state of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the Dharma body. Thus, this has been referred to in the lifespan chapter as the original state, endowed with the 10 worlds, the 3 bodies, which the Buddha is eternally endowed. So let me say that again without pausing. This has been referred to in the lifespan chapter as the original state of existence, the original state of life, endowed with the 10 worlds, because all the 10 worlds possess the state of Buddhahood, right? The mutual possession of the 10 worlds, and the 3 bodies with which the Buddha is eternally endowed, the 3 bodies in which we are all eternally endowed. Okay, it's because we're all Buddhas in our original state. The Bodhisattva perceiver of the world's sounds has already accepted the Lotus Sutra reverently. And now the practitioners who accept and uphold this sutra can enjoy benefits that surpass even those of the Bodhisattva perceiver of the world's sounds. Okay, so in other words, again, there's nothing holding you back from experiencing the 6th stage of practice except your own doubt and limitation of your mind. Your reward body hasn't fully matured to the point that you go, oh, I get it, I am the Buddha. Point 3, that's all it is. Point 3 on the passage, and it's got to be deep and it's got to be, clear. You've got to understand that point. It can't be a theoretical construct. That's why it only occurs from chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon. It doesn't come from reading things. Without me going through this would read completely differently than I'm reading it. Point 3 on the passage, the wonderful sound, perceiver of the world's sounds, Brahma's sound, the seed tide sound. They surpass those sounds of the world. Therefore, you should constantly think on them from thought to thought, never entertaining doubt. Now, what is never entertaining doubt? From thought to thought, never entertaining doubt. It means no thought of doubt occurs in your mind, ever. It's called mugi washin. It's called doubt-free faith. Mugi washin is exactly what he's talking about here. Therefore, you should constantly think on them from the standpoint of doubt-free faith. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says, in the phrase at the top of page 181, from thought to thought, the first thought stands for the 6 paths of the lower realms of unenlightened beings, which is where we all start from before we've heard word Buddhas in theory, before we hear the name and the words of the truth. That's becoming a voice here at that point in time. In the phrase, from thought to thought, the first thought stands for the 6 paths or lower realms of enlightened beings, where we start in this process down the 6 stages of practice, while the second thought stands for the 4 noble realms, which we enter into in the process of practice. Embracing the Gohonzon is practice. Chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is practice. Doing Shakabuku is practice. Studying the teaching is practice. The meaning is that the benefits a perceiver of the world's sounds are bestowed on beings in both the 6 paths, because it doesn't matter what world you're in, and in the 4 noble realms. One is told to never entertain doubt on this point. So this is, again, reinforcing the importance of mugi washin. When we encounter that roadblock, that point where it seems like our daimoku is not being answered, our prayer is not being answered, you cannot let that affect how you perceive the truth of your life, which is your karma. You created this, and if you're not proceeding along towards the 6th path, if you're wanting to just stop in Never Never Land and don't care about attaining Buddhahood in your present form, or don't believe that you really can't, even though it's in the teaching everywhere, then you don't have this doubt-free faith that's absolutely necessary to sustain, maintain, and progress along the path to the 6th stage. All right? Again, the phrase from thought to thought can refer to the former thought and the latter thought. Or again, it may be cautioning us that we are never able to entertain doubt in regard to our thoughts on the wonderful law. We are never able to doubt the Gohonzon and the teaching of the Daishonin, the original teacher, in the process of being, teachers of the law or being bodhisattvas of the earth. You've got to understand this key is faith. That's the one thing, that's the one strength I've always had, because I got so much stuff without ever even knowing what it was, that by the time I got introduced to what it was, I already, the issue of wondering if it works was not a part of my life. So from the very beginning, I chanted Nam-myoho Renge-kyo to the Gohonzon with absolute faith that I had a direct relationship with Nichiren Daishonin, because that's what Mr. Matsuoka had taught me. The Gohonzon is the physical embodiment of the life of the Daishonin that was manifested for the sake of for the 10,000 years of the latter day and beyond. That's what it actually is. You derive your Buddha nature by using that mirror to bring it out. The Gohonzon is your life. It is your original state. It's the eternally endowed three bodies manifesting in the phenomenal realm of a living being, such as yourself, such as all living beings have that potential. Or again, continuing in the middle on 181, or again, it may refer to the succession of thoughts or moments of life that constantly abides throughout the three existence of past, present, and future. So are you always happy and go-lucky and feeling like your life is filled with pleasure and benefit? No. But those thoughts have nothing to do with doubting the path that you're on or doubting the ultimate truth of the teaching that you're manifesting through your chanting of Daimoku to the Gohonzon. You cannot have that kind of thought in your vocabulary. It's just not there. You know it's slanderous. You know it's a lack of appreciation. It's insincerity manifest. You need to always remember, no matter how tough or rough, whatever world you might be in, that doubting the Gohonzons and the veracity and the correctness of the teaching is the fastest way for things to go further south, or for you to get away from the teaching that will take you to ultimate enlightenment. This is what is meant by the words that come earlier. For this reason, living beings should constantly keep the thought of the wonderful law in mind. We should always be thinking Nam-myoho Renge-kyo first and above all things. If we do that, we're never going to be happy. We're never going to have a problem that we can't resolve. We can never be defeated if we understand and live that life, that kind of a thought process in our minds. Now, when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they should abide in the mind of faith. They should abide. In other words, that should be their primary level, point of circumstance of existence. You abide in faith from thought to thought, never entertains doubt. If you spend enough time in front of the Gohonzon, if you do it every day, if you practice like you're supposed to as a bodhisattva of the earth, this will be the realm that you stay in, regardless of the difficulties or obstacles that you encounter and overcome. Because the teaching already says they're going to be there. They're coming. Be ready. Show your dutta. Show your faith. It's when you have to show your faith by living in the difficulty of life and not being discouraged and having encouragement and hope that you derive from your Daimoku to the Gohonzon, that you break through and actually validate the truth that you are the Buddha in your present form. Earthly desires are enlightenment, and the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. Understanding those two phrases is the whole key. All right? One should have no doubts concerning the reality, this fact. One should have no doubts concerning earthly desires are enlightenment. There's nothing wrong with your desires. They're leading you on the path to Buddhahood. And the sufferings of birth and death, the things that you go through to get there, are what will lead you to the perfection of absolute Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, supreme perfect enlightenment. That's the nirvana of the latter day. That's true nirvana. One should have no doubts concerning this. Mugi washing, mugi washing, mugi washing. Page 181 at the bottom, point 4. On the passage, if a woman wishes to give birth to a male child, she should offer obeisance and alms to Bodhisattva, perceiver of the world's sounds, and then she will bear a son blessed with merit. If a woman wishes to give birth to a male child, she should offer obeisance and alms to Bodhisattva, perceiver of the world sounds, and then she will bear a son blessed with merit, virtue, and wisdom. And if she wishes to bear a daughter, she will bear one with all the marks of comeliness, one who in the past planted the roots of virtue and is loved and respected by many people. Going on to page 182, continuing point 4 of the Perceiver of the World Sounds, chapter 25. The record of the orally transmitted teaching, says Nichiren, says the two wishes referred to here are the wish for a son and the wish for a daughter. And generally speaking, as a parent, most parents actually do kind of want a girl or they want a boy. They'll be happy with any healthy child. That's what the thought always comes back to, as long as they're healthy. But you may have a desire for one or the other. The wish for a daughter, it says, stands for the wish for worldly reward and recompense. The wish for a son stands for the wish of spiritual rewards. Accordingly, peace and security in one's present existence is the virtue that pertains to the wish for a daughter, while good circumstances in one's future existences is the virtue that pertains to the wish for a son. The wish for a daughter is represented by the Dragon King's daughter and her attainment of Buddhahood, which makes manifest the principle that the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. The wish for a son is represented by Devadatta's attainment of Buddhahood, which makes manifest the principle that earthly desires are enlightenment. These are the two elements that make manifest the principle that one may attain Buddhahood in one's present form. These two examples, in turn, make manifest the principle that one may attain Buddhahood in one's present form. So let me say them again. The wish for a daughter is represented by the Dragon King's daughter and her attainment of Buddhahood, which makes manifest the principle of the sufferings of birth and death or nirvana. Females have to go through childbirth. They have a more difficult life than males in reality. The wish for a son is represented, they have menstrual periods. They have all kinds of issues that men don't have to resolve in the path of their existence. The wish for a son is represented by Devadatta's attainment of Buddhahood, that even though they're boys and they're evil, in some manifest way, which makes manifest the principle that earthly desires are enlightenment. Those mischievous inclinations as a youthful male, okay, can be overcome and be the source of great wisdom. And these two examples in turn make manifest the principle that one may attain Buddhahood in one's present form. So either as a male or a female, you have attributes that are going to contribute to the fact that you cannot be denied Buddhahood in this present lifetime if you chant Daimoku to the Gohonzon with Mugi washing, with doubt-free faith. That's what he just said on the page before in the point previously. Now when Nichiren and his followers as practitioners of the Lotus Sutra chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they are fulfilling both the wish for a son and the wish for a daughter, and are assuring the attainment of Buddhahood for both their fathers and mothers. Don't forget, mom and dad get to come along because we do the job that we promised that we would do before we were even born. We're born to our mother and father because we choose them. Okay? It's out of compassion for them. The most compassionate thought is the thought to choose the parents that you have. No, regardless of how good a mom or dad they have been, how you regard them in the phenomenal realm. Did they take, what kind of care did they give you? What kind of love did they give you? That doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is they gave you life. And without life, you could never manifest Buddhahood in life. Okay? That's the way you should judge and see it. Point 5, page 182. We're not supposed to be judging our parents. We're supposed to have compassion for them. Point 5, concerning the 33 bodies or bodily transformations that the Bodhisattva perceiver of the world sounds undergoes in order to benefit living beings. In other words, the story on perceiver of the world sounds is they could take, he could take, she could take, however you want to look at it, 33 different forms, okay? So the Daishonin is going to break down where does that number 33 come from? The record of the early transmitted teaching says the number 30 stands for the doctrine of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. The three bodies stand for the doctrine of the three truths, the truth of the middle way, right? Non-substantiality, temporary existence, the truth of the middle way. That's the three truths. So he said, again, we may say regarding the 33 bodies or bodily transformations that if one is endowed with the three bodies in each of the 10 worlds, this constitutes 30 bodies. And if the original, your original state, eternally endowed with the three bodies, and if the original three bodies are then added in, we have a total of 33 bodies. I hope you understood that math. Again, we may say regarding the 33 bodies or bodily transformations that if one is endowed with the three bodies in each of the 10 worlds, because each of the 10 worlds also the three bodies of the Dharma body, the reward body, and the manifest body are still there. Whether you're in hell, hungry spirits, animals, asuras, living beings, heavenly beings, voice hearers, cause awakened ones, bodhisattvas, or Buddha. Everybody is born with these same. Everybody is an entity of these three bodies. So he's saying again. If one is endowed with the three bodies in each of the 10 worlds, this constitutes 30 bodies. And if the original three bodies that, the Dharma body, the reward body, and the manifested body is added in, we have a total of 33 bodies. Generally speaking, concerning 30 or 3 multiplied by 10, the number 3 stands for the three categories of action, namely, of the body, mouth, and mind. That's the way we create karma. We either do it with by taking an action, or we talk about it, or we think about it, or physical, verbal, and mental actions. All right, they're all actions, even if you just think them. While the number 10 stands for the 10 worlds. The number 3 of 33 may stand for the three poisons of greed, anger, and foolishness, of which we are eternally endowed, of which even that affect even Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Buddhas have the three poisons. Okay, they just in the Buddha they've been transformed. Okay, so he says the number 3 of 33 may stand for the three poisons of greed, anger, and foolishness. The word bodies represents the bodies of all living beings. Now, when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they are enjoying the benefits of the 33 bodies or bodily transformations. All right? Do you understand that, I hope? Okay, so again, the greed, anger, and foolishness we flip, and we transform it into, from greed, anger, and foolishness into the Dharma body, the Dharma body, wisdom, and emancipation. The emancipation comes from the wisdom of the Dharma body. All right, so now when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they are enjoying the benefits of the 33 bodies or bodily transformations. Page 183. We're now in the middle where it says chapter 26, Dharani, 6 important points. Point 1, concerning the word Dharani, supernatural spells. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says Dharani here means Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, because Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is almost like a supernatural spell. It's not really, it's the original state of existence, but for the purpose of the way the context of Dharanis have been used throughout the Lotus Sutra and throughout the previous trace teachings, then it makes sort of a similarity, a parallel of being able to understand the depth of what Nam-myoho Renge-kyo actually is. It's sort of like yelling out to perceiver of the world's sounds when you're in trouble. That's what we all do with our daimoku, isn't it? We go, oh, Gohansen, save me. Hachiman. This is because Dharani represents the secret words of the Buddhas. It represents Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The 5 characters of the daimoku are the secret words of the secrets of the Buddhas of the 3 existences. Now, when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they are widely propagating the Dharani, for the Dharani that is that which thwarts or rejects evil and upholds good. Point 2, concerning the words Anye or Manye in the Dharani spells of the Bodhisattva Medicine King. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says Anye means she, stopping or cessation. Manye means kan, seeing or meditation. From these two words derive the two elements of concentration and insight, shikan, like the Makashikan, great concentration and insight from Tintai. Accordingly, these spells are the spells of the Bodhisattva Medicine King. And here's the kicker: Bodhisattva Medicine King is the original state or form of the great teacher Tintai. Anye represents the element of mind in us and corresponds to wonderful or the wonderful law. Manye represents the element of body in us and corresponds to the word law. When we make these words our bodies and minds being when we make these words our bodies and minds being the wonderful law, our spell, we are affirming that one can attain Buddhahood in one's present form. When we make our bodies and minds one with the law of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and chant Daimoku to the Gohonzon, that's our spell. Then we are affirming that we can attain Buddhahood in our present body or form. Are we there yet? Oh, excuse me, I thought you were telling me to. Point 3 on page 184. Concerning the goddess mother or demon children, the record of the orally transmitted teaching says that Daishonin says the word demon stands for the father and the word children stands for the 10 demon daughters. The word mother, hariti, and the word for mother is hariti. Taking the words in the name in reverse order, we may say that the word goddess represents the ninth consciousness, or the state of non-substantiality that we enter as Buddhas. The word mother, our mind, we just disassociate it with the other 4 components of the 5 components. We're all just temporary gatherings of the 5 components, right? So the component of mind dwells in the ninth consciousness when it's in the state of non-substantiality. The word mother represents the 8 consciousnesses, the unenlightened states, the level at which ignorance appears. These are all talking about where the state of mind of the ungathering of the temporary gathering of the 5 components. When we go into quietude, when we enter non-substantiality, when it seems as though we've entered extinction, we've died, we're no longer in the phenomenal realm of the Saha world. The word mother represents the 8 consciousnesses, the level at which ignorance appears, because it isn't until Buddhahood that we get to that we get to the clarity of understanding that all things are not separate from us. We're our Dharma body is right there. The word children represents the 7th and 6th consciousnesses. The word demon represents the first 5 consciousnesses, those of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. In the case of the teachings that pertain to transmigration, in other words, the process of what we go through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, the pre-Lotus Sutra teachings, in the case of the teachings that pertain to transmigration, the pre-Lotus Sutra teachings, the goddess mother of demon children is an evil demon. But in the case of the teachings that pertain to the extinction of transmigration, the permanence of Buddhahood in each lifetime, the Lotus Sutra's teachings, she acts as a benevolent demon. That's why she's on the Gohonzon. Hence, we may say that the goddess mother of demon children and the 10 demon daughters, which are all on the Gohonzon, represent the mutual possession of the 10 worlds and the 100 worlds and 1,000 factors. That is the state of living beings. That is the principle of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. The reality that all of the 10 worlds have contained within them Buddhahood, the 10th world, and that we can attain Buddhahood on Buddhahood, the 10th of the 10th. The deity known as Sambo Kojin, or Kojin of the 3 treasures, is a manifestation of the 10 demon daughters. The 3 types of Kojin are the god of hunger and thirst, the god of greed and desire, and the god of blocks and hindrances. Now the practitioners of the Lotus Sutra, because they transform the 3 poisons of greed, anger, and foolishness into the 3 virtues, as I had said, of Dharma, body, wisdom, and emancipation, are not to be identified with the god Sambo Jin, the god of blocks and hindrances. For persons who have no faith in the Lotus Sutra, Kojin is what his name implies, a rough god who awakens demons. But when he is in the presence of the practitioners of the Lotus Sutra, he acts as a guardian deity. So these all transform because we transform greed, anger, and foolishness into Dharma, body, and emancipation, the god of blocks and hindrances, or the god of greed and desire, the god of hunger and thirst, all transform into the acts of they all act as a guardian deity. And with that, we've gotten through point 1, 2, and 3 of the Rani chapter. We've got two more, and we will be into chapter 27. Yep. So thank you very much.